One of my favorite quote is life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. I'm a believer in you kind of not manifest, but really you put the mindset like what is it that you want to accomplish, right? And I would say Pinnacle definitely helped me reach higher, like a lot higher. I don't just sit there and let life happen. I go after it because I have one life and I want to make the most of it.
Women Who Own It podcast spotlights women business owners who are pioneers in their field, setting trends, blazing trails, and creating game-changing innovations. Brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the U.S. and a leading advocate for women business owners and entrepreneurs. And me, Allison Maslin. I've been a business owner for the last 35 years. I'm the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book Scale or Fail. So join our bold community of women who built it, grew it, and own it. I'll see you on the show. Welcome to the fourth season of the Women Who Own It podcast, where we are diving into the theme of momentum. This year, we are exploring how our network of women-owned businesses builds and sustains momentum in their practices and their operations, from developing successful strategies to overcoming obstacles and leveraging community support. Our guests are going to share their insights and experience in driving growth and innovation. We hope to inspire you with practical tips on how to stay ahead of the curve in this ever-evolving market. So join us as we embark on this exciting journey of learning, discovering, and growth. And I am your host, Allison Maslin. I am the CEO and founder of Pinnacle Global Network, where we mentor business owners around the world to grow and scale companies that change the world. And so our guest today, I'm so excited to bring on Amanda Ma. You are going to be blown away by this powerhouse businesswoman. She is the founder and CEO of Innovate Marketing Group, an award-winning event management agency based in Los Angeles for top brands such as TikTok, Google, East West Bank. She does live, hybrid, and virtual events. And under Amanda's leadership, the agency has quickly become one of the most sought-after event firms in the area, known for delivering results and building long-term relationships with her clients. Amanda is a true visionary and thought leader in the industry, constantly pushing the boundaries of what is possible in events and marketing. She was named Event X Top 100 Most Influential People in the Event Industry Globally, and BizBash Top 500 Most Influential Event Professionals in the U.S. She is recognized as a business and community leader. She is also the host of the Event Up podcast and a #1 best-selling Amazon author. She currently sits on boards, and in her spare time, she loves spending time with her family and traveling. Amanda, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Yeah. So I've had the pleasure of knowing Amanda for a few years. She's actually one of our clients and members in Pinnacle Global Network. And so I have been able to see, really firsthand how incredible you are and the impact that you're making in the world with your events and just, inspiring really in the community. Amanda, you're such a giver. And so I just wanted to say that and give you that personal plug. What do you think sets your company apart in the event space?
Our industry is definitely super competitive and there's a lot of agencies out there, right? But I think what sets it apart, one of them is we have our signature process is actually called the impact process. But in addition to that, our agency is also very diverse. And not only is my team diverse, but our suppliers are diverse. So prior to being DI being really popular and trendy, our agency was already doing that. 85% of our team members are women, and more than 50% of our supplier are actually diverse or women owned or small businesses, so a lot of big brands we work with, they love that because it really trickled down. They have these new initiatives as well, but not only are we a great agency, but we're also very community minded in that sense.
I love that. I love that. And I know that your agency has been very, very successful. I mean, even through the pandemic, and, we'll talk a little bit about that. But can you share a little bit about your backstory and how you came to be the CEO of Innovate Marketing Group?
Oh my gosh. It started back in, no, just kidding. My It's I've been in the industry for 16 years. So how it all got started, I was doing corporate events and also nonprofit events. And I realized I was pretty good at this. And then at one point we were attending a lot of events, but all of them were just the same. Like they did not make an impression. It's almost they kind of blurred in, right? So I remember having dinner with a friend and she's like, "Hey, what did you do this week?" I said, "I went to 4 events." And then she asked me, "What events was it?" And I couldn't really tell her because I don't remember. That's how
Oh, wow.
unimpressionable it was. And I
Not good.
realized, and I love events. I think it's something that comes naturally to me. I was doing events in college, but I didn't know it was called events. I just thought it was fun connecting different communities together. And, once I went to the professional world, I'm pretty detail oriented and I've always been have an entrepreneur heart. So I think the stars aligned and I started my own agency along with a partner and we kind of just took off from there. And it was one of those things I literally told my parents, I'm going to try out for a year. I gave myself a deadline because I had a great corporate job. They were like, "Why are you leaving?" And I say, "Well, let me try this out. I give myself a year, and if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to the corporate job." Well, here we are 16 years later, and I'm still here as a business owner and
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
So it clearly worked out, like
Yes.
more than worked out. So, we've been leading events for many, many years and in Pinnacle Global Network. And for us, it's been a very successful growth strategy for our company, not to mention just great for culture and connection. Why do you feel, Amanda, that leading events is a great growth strategy for companies? For those of you that are listening, maybe this is something you want to do for your business. Why do you think that is the case?
There's actually a lot of statistics out there showing that, with events, it actually have a much longer lasting impression. And we truly believe that event and especially an event experience that's well built and put together actually convert a standard attendee into becoming an advocate and champion for the brand. And that I personally have been impacted that way as well. So I know it works. Like I know there's drinks or even like skincare or makeup that I use now. It's because I came across them at an event. And I say, "Hey, I'm going to try it out." But normally I would not just go out and buy them because I already have a skincare line that I use or a drink that I love. Right. But through events, you're actually able to make a bigger impression because it's a time that you're really focused at this specific time, duration of time. And I think a lot of people, but you have to do it right. You have to do it strategically. I always say begin with the end in mind. Like our events, we have KPIs for a reason because it's very intentional. I think the intentionality is very important. And a lot of people forget that.
Yeah, I think that's really a good point. And I know you came to one of my events, so that's how we met. So definitely living proof here. And I think that's a really good point because I actually wanted to ask you about some tips for those that are wanting to lead events. And I know there's so many aspects, so it's hard to kind of say, well, just do these few things. But I love that you just said that because, a lot of times we'll hear people say, well, I want to lead an event or I want to write a book or I want to have a podcast. And one of the first things that we ask is, well, what's the goal? What is the intention? Like, what do you want the outcome to be? So then you can reverse engineer that. Right. And so I think that's
Yes.
what you're talking about.
Yes. And first of all, I would like to say your event is phenomenal. I attend a lot of these, and after I went to your first event, even within like after a few, I was like, wow, this is really awesome. I'm going to stay. I remember it was virtual. I was like, I wasn't sure if I was going to stay the whole time, but I told my team, I'm going to clear my calendar. I'm definitely staying for the rest. So it was so impactful. So
Thank
you
you.
guys have the formula down. And to just share some quick tip, utilizing our impact signature process. I think first one, the I stands for like innovate, right? Like an event, especially events, you have to constantly like innovate. And I would say also surprise and delight. That's part of it, right? Right. And looking at, there's so many tools out there, how to innovate in terms of like making the attendees journey easier, whether that's through like registration or through an experience that what they'll experience on site. Like we just finished an event for TikTok for VidCon. So we have, instead of everybody having to come in and register on site to see who's actually there, we actually had this QR code, but it's a tap bar. So everybody wears it on the bracelet. And then literally you just take your phone and then scan, and then now everything is on your bracelet that you could bring down. We even did, Wheel of Fortune with the win prizes all digitally. So not only does it become sustainable, but it's also very interactive, and you can carry over that to multiple events. So it's incorporating
Wow.
innovation at its best, right? And no paper.
That is so creative. I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you.
What are some other things that, like, if someone is, obviously they should hire you, but if they're just kind of thinking through, like, when you think of your events, what do you feel like are some things that are non-negotiable, like you really need to make sure you're doing this?
So then we definitely talk about the mission, right? So we have 6 steps. So the mission is like understanding the why, which is what you and I talk about. Because a lot of time clients get excited and they just want to get started. But we're like, what's your KPI? Why are you doing this? And you'd be surprised because sometimes we get the response say, well, our company have been doing this for 10 years. So I just got this job, and I was designated this role and I was told to do this event. But I'm like, why are you doing it? And what do you want to get out of it? But by
Mm,
doing that, it really sets up the event for success, and we actually make them look really good. And of course, the planning, that's such a big part. I always believe in good planning is huge because there's so many layers. For those of you that have done events or try to market your events, there's so many layer in events, like the prep work and you know the whole 9 yards. But the next step that I love the most is actually attendee journey, planning the event from the attendee perspective, because a lot of people do it the other way. They do it from the brand perspective.
mm,
But if you do it from the attendee experience, you're really mapping out. So what we do here for an event, then we'll really think about what is the attendee experience from the moment before the event arrive to the moment they arrive to the moment they leave. Like what is it that we want them to experience, and what is it that we want them to get out of it? How does the brand add value? Right? It's become a lot more competitive for in-person events, especially after pandemic. People are like, I have to get dressed, put makeup on, drive in 1 hour traffic to Beverly Hills and back, right? So the
yeah.
investment is, people are looking at events very differently now and really narrowing down to the ones that is going to bring them value. So the attendee experience is one that you should really look at the demographic, who you're trying to attract, and plan your events from there. And then the next one's communication. That's a big one. That's one that I see a lot of people miss, meaning they plan this amazing event, but they don't communicate that, right? Allison, I feel like you guys do this really well. Like you're like, okay, these are the speakers, some highlight reels, and then you do like short form video to kind of welcome people to come to the event and like teasers. But a lot of people
Yeah.
don't do that, so that's
Mhm.
very important. And just letting people, you don't have to tell them everything, but give them some sneak peeks of what's to come. That's going to kind
Yeah,
of build
I think so
excitement.
too. Well, like you said, I think people are really choosy with their time these days. What they realize that for, over 2 years, almost 3, that you didn't have to go anywhere. And so they really value their time, and so they wanna see what is all this about, so they can decide if it's right for them. And look, there's one thing for someone to register, but there's another for someone to show up. Just because they
Yes.
registered doesn't mean they're gonna show up, right? So, from the time they register, you gotta get them excited so they actually do show up.
Yeah. I mean, there's some events literally, especially I think our agency is based in Los Angeles, even though we do events all over nationwide. But LA, like you ask someone like, what are you going to do this weekend? They're like, oh, I'm still deciding. Right? There's
Yeah.
just so much competition for different opportunity and excitement out there. So you're right. Like making sure you provide those sneak peeks and just get people excited and continue to build on that, right? And then also, once they're on site, you want to create some FOMO, um, meaning that these moments where people are like maybe putting on sharing on social media. So it's like, oh my God, I missed Allison's event. It looks like it was so awesome. So many fantastic speakers and so much great content. Oh my God, did you see they're giving away the books? Stuff like that. Right. Or
Yeah,
like
I
Lori
should
from
have
Shark
gone.
Tank. Yes, 100%. So that even if they
Mhm.
miss it this time, they want to go another time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, so they'll make it a priority.
Yes. And then there's another tier to communication, making sure you communicate with your team or all the stakeholders, right? Making sure everybody's on the same page because there are times things change last minute and you just want to make sure everybody involved is on the same page so that for the attendees, because they'll have questions once they're on site, so that the correct information is distributed and also communicated too. And I would say once people get on site, that's your opportunity to market. Like there's so many of these events I see that I attend. I'm like, they don't have branding or not enough. Like, I love branding the podium. I love branding the stage backdrop. I love putting something on the table that has the brand or a QR code, or even coming up with like a social media hashtag for that day so that it's consistent, so that everybody
Mhm.
uses it. And then instead of people trying to figure out, wait, what's your hashtag? Like it's already on the table, and that's something you could create once and repurpose. Even a
Yeah,
lot of signages
that's
like,
a great idea. We do not have it on the table. I love that idea.
yeah, it's like it's all these branding opportunities,
Yeah.
and you could really make a one-time investment and then use it for multiple events. I always say the easier you make it for the attendee, the more they'll do it, right? And then you'll see like, wow, more people did social media at this time. Why is that? Well, because there's always wait time, right? Transition
Mhm.
time. So if you have these engagements, is what we call it, on the table or in other areas, like one time we actually even brand a bathroom, so it had like cute hashtag in there. Even the mirror, we did decals. So it's so cute. So people were even doing social media in there. And then one time we have one of our client had Neutrogena as a sponsor. So they were like, what can we do for a sponsorship? And we actually gave them the idea they could brand the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel bathroom because it's
Oh
gorgeous.
my
It has
gosh.
a 360 view mirror. So Neutrogena took over, and the entire night, everybody was like, "Have you been to the restroom? Have you been to the restroom?" They got so
This is
much
where women
engagement.
congregate.
Yes, I mean it was
Yeah,
a women's event. It was an 800
yeah.
women's luncheon, so it was
Oh
perfect.
my
Well,
god.
guess what? Neutrogena next year sponsorship, no problem. It makes a
Yeah.
conversation. Now they're not just another logo on a piece of paper. Their brand comes to life.
I love how WeBank does it at their conferences. They have the big letters,
Mhm.
and they've even had, one time where
Yes.
you write on there, where
Mhm.
so that's more interactive. I love that.
Yeah, and I definitely took a picture in front of the WeBank social WeBank sign and
Yeah,
put it on social media. So it does
yeah.
work, you know.
It does. We did too. We had our whole team kinda laying on different letters and so forth. So, um, anything else on that?
So communication, I think the last one is just making it, turnkey. And we always say at the end of the day, 90% is planning, 10% is execution, right? It's coming down to the moment of truth. So making sure the team is on the same page and then really being that trusted advisor. But at the same time, like really think win-win. I think for the brands, right? Like, what is it that, we talk about the attendee journey, like, what would they get out of it? Because I can tell you if they get value, either they learn something or they made really great connection or they made great sales, then next year that would make sense for them to go. Even for WeBank, right? We got a booth this year and we say, okay, it costs this much to attend, this much to bring X amount of staff, and then what is it that I want to get out of it, right? Obviously, I would love to make some new connections and new sales, but like putting that intention and purpose in the front end, and then kind of follow through in terms of that planning. So we'll see if the ROI is there at the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's another point. Just attending events or sponsoring events is really smart. So I think,
Yeah.
even if you're not ready to lead your own event, just events overall are a great way to build your business.
Yes, definitely. And you don't always have to, people have asked me, oh my gosh, like, for example, Allison does this amazing conference, right? But not everybody can need to start off with a 3 day conference because that takes a lot of funding. You could start with a cocktail hour, you could do a brunch. We recently did an event that was targeting women. So instead of they normally just like do it at their company. So it's still great. They have panels, but guess what? We kind of elevated that experience. And how we did that was we actually went to a hotel, but weren't inside a ballroom. Instead, we were in their garden, and then we did an afternoon tea experience, and then we also did a photo shoot because it was right after pandemic. People need new headshots, right? So we did that, and then upon arrival, we passed out champagne and we have like non-alcoholic drinks, but it was like raving fans by the end of the event. And then yes, we still had the panel, but we completely changed their environment and we give them a platform to communicate. Because afternoon tea, as you know, it takes a little while, but building that environment experience just really elevated that experience. It was so popular, the client loved it, so they signed up for like 4 more.
Wow. Wow. That's phenomenal. And, I know that you literally, I don't know how many events you've led in total, but I think when I met you, you had already done 90 virtual events. Now, this was kind of early in the pandemic. This is when you and I met because you met me at one of our virtual events during the pandemic. How how did you make that pivot? And are you continuing virtual events uh for your clients?
You know, at the time, it was so scary. Alice, I know you always talk about this too. As a leader, I said, this shift is not going down on my watch. Right. And then,
Mhm.
but everything came to a halt. So it's like, what do you do? Events is all about in person, the connectivity. But when everybody's home, and I think we definitely just went back to the drawing board. And as an entrepreneur and business owner, I don't want to say it was just all rainbows, meaning like, yeah, I thought of the idea and we just pivot. No, I went through a process. There was definitely uh, very scared in the beginning because no money was coming in, right? Everything was shut down. So everything was on hold. But really kind of adjusting that mindset, say, hey, like I could either sit here and do nothing and just wait for the pandemic to be over, or I could do something about it. And I think for me, when people ask me like, okay, as an entrepreneur, what tip would you get? I say, take action. It's the inaction that really kills you, right? And even if I take action, certain thing doesn't work. Virtual event, we ended up, virtual event was only one of our ideas. We actually have other ideas that didn't get picked up, like the drive-through, or like doing movies in the like there's so many other ideas, but the two that really thrive was virtual events and as well as the events to go kit. So we kind of paired those together and that was really nice pairing and clients grabbed to it well, but also it was a lot of traction because they see the value, right? A lot of people were like kind of they love the moments and we created some really fun experiences. So we started with zero and by the end of the pandemic, we did over 250 virtual events. But now we're
Wow.
back to in person. So we're actually 95% in person and 5% virtual.
Yeah. Wow, that is amazing. I think the advantage of that time of virtual, and we actually have a virtual event. We're going to go ahead and do another one in September, but we're able to reach people all over the world, which was so great. That would have never heard of us, and
Yes.
maybe not hopped on a plane and booked a hotel. So being able to have that global reach was incredibly valuable.
Definitely. And I would say honestly, like, even for your event, like I went to my first experience with you guys was the virtual event. And if it was in person, I don't know if I will make that investment like a 3 day to a brand that I'm not that familiar with yet. But because I went to virtual and it was so accessible, that's the one great thing about virtual because of the connect, like you're able to reach so much further, right? And you really
Yeah.
amplify. And for the brands that took really jumped on early, which a lot of our clients did, they then were able to capture so much more market because their reach
Yeah.
was further, right? So I think it's always how do we pivot? And then we really think about what is the client's pain point and how do we help them solve that problem. I do believe as a business person, as an entrepreneur, we're always just solving problems, right? Like how do you do this better, faster? And what is it that what's the problem we're trying to solve? Not I don't go in and say, oh, how much money am I going to make? Right? It's like, what problem do I solve? Because I'm solving a problem that needs to be
Yes.
solved. Someone will hire us.
Yes. Yeah. Great perspective, Amanda. Now, we talked a little bit about branding, and branding is so important. And so that the customer really feels the essence of who you are, who the company is in every aspect during the event. How would you lead a CEO to incorporate branding into their event? I know we talked about some of it with the bathroom and the hashtag, but is there anything else about branding that's important to note?
I think branding, just really understand a lot of our clients have brand guidelines. So understanding what your brand guidelines are and just really making sure that carries throughout the event. I don't want to say brainwashing, but kind of when they come out, like Alice, I always notice you wear a white dress, right? Because your brand is the dark blue or navy blue and then white. And I thought it was so strategic. Even your chairs is white and you have like some flower. So, but there's a lot of these elements that you could incorporate. We talked about, like in addition to like lighting, but even the space that you pick, it becomes a branding opportunity, right? Because there's so many choices in the venue and the way it look. What is the vibe, right? Every brand
Mhm.
has a vibe, just like your brand voice, right? But then your brand has is like this is the type of brand, and also this is who you attract. So you have to make sure you meet where your demographics are. So all the branding is really important, and also making sure your team. So it's not just the one person, but also staff is like the best brand ambassadors, right? So making sure they have like consistent attire and then well branded so that one they know their staff, but two just the branding is constantly there. So for even for our agency, we have an outfit for setup, and then we have an outfit for formal events, one for informal event like outdoor events, but this way everybody's consistent. So we have gotten the feedback like, wow, your agency, like I know exactly who's here working and who's not, but it's just also a presentation, like the way we present
Mhm.
ourselves. And we are a reflection of our client, right? So we want to make them look good. So that's very important. And branding comes in and also the messaging, right? I feel like branding is like a lot of also what you say. And we always one of the things that we always recommend is also, in addition to begin with the end in mind, but at the end, like, what is your call of action, right? Like, you want to kind of like incorporate that into the different elements when you design your event. And it could be part of the branding, right? Because you help
Yeah.
elevate people. Yeah. So the color
Yeah,
is
all
like
those
color,
pieces.
strategy. Yeah. It's a lot of different elements that kind of incorporate into the branding. And it's always really good to know if you ever wonder, what is my brand? Ask someone else who knows you well and say, what's how, what's my brand? You could kind of ask them that question and see what people say about you guys.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy because we don't always see it in ourselves. Someone said to me one time, branding is what is left behind, what people remember once the event or campaign or whatever is over. And I think it's really the essence, right,
Yes.
of the message, the energy that you're conveying.
Mhm.
Um, so what do you feel moving on? I want to talk a little bit about mindset because I mean, success is, I think it's about 97% mindset, maybe a percent of sweat equity, and then, you know, the rest get to itness. But what do you feel is your biggest mindset belief or practice, Amanda, that has helped you do the scary things to grow your business?
I say there's one of my favorite quote is life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. I'm a
Mm,
believer in you kind of not manifest, but really you put the mindset like what is it that you want to accomplish, right? And I would say Pinnacle definitely helped me reach higher, like a lot higher. um, but it's like being intentional and just I'm more like a cup half full. I'm very more positive mindset for sure. And if we come across certain issue, it's just like how do we solve it? And there's so many creative ways to solve it. If I get a no, my question is always finding out the why. And then a no to
mhm,
me is not no forever, it's just no right now. And that just also goes to show me like I have not convinced them. I need to like pivot, right? So like doing
mhm.
that. And I think a lot of it, what drives me, when it comes to business or even the community, I always think like, okay, if you're not stepping up, then don't complain about it. If you want to do something about it, then do it. I'm a true believer in being the change that you want to see. So again, that you could kind of see a pattern. It's very like action
Yeah.
oriented. I don't
Mhm.
just sit there and let life happen. I go after it because I have one life and I want to make the most of it.
And taking responsibility.
And taking responsibility, is not just about taking random risks, but being strategic about the risks and but definitely taking risks because that without risks, I think you're not really going to move forward, right? But mindset is really important. And as an entrepreneur, for those of you that are listening, we know it's hard. There are days when you're just like, why am I doing this? This is crazy. It's like a roller coaster. Our highs are so high, our lows are so low. But then it's knowing that the next day is going to be better and knowing that you have the power to make it better.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really impactful, Amanda, definitely. And a big part of I know why you're so successful and we're so honored to work with you and support you and it's been so fun to see you catapult and be a part of the journey with you. Um and so have you encountered I mean, look, we're talking about momentum. So I'm asking you this, and of course you have, because every business does. Have you encountered any obstacles in maintaining the momentum? And so maybe share a challenge that you went through and how you were able to overcome and keep that momentum going.
I mean, the pandemic was a huge one. And were there challenges? Yes, of course. Like this is my second agency. I used to have another agency and I had business partner, and we had to dissolve that partnership. And then that was a huge, when I think about my lifeline, that was a huge dip because so much of my work I had to start over. I'm like, is this crazy? Like 8 years later, you build up a brand and like dissolve and then start over. But sometimes things happen for a reason and they're blessing in disguise. You just had to believe that something else better is coming along. When one door
Yes.
closes, another opens, and sometimes even bigger door, right? With the pandemic, I mean, at one point I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay the payroll? And but then we end up using that time for innovation, right? Like pivoting, and also using that time to kind of restructure our agency and really think, how can we bring additional value? So by the end of pandemic, we not only survived, but we really thrived, and our team double, our company double. And I don't know. I don't want to say pandemic was awesome. I worked really hard. Everybody else picked up a hobby. I just picked up more work. But yeah, like all my friends were like, I do gardening now. I play the guitar. I learned a new language. I'm like, I learned virtual events. So did my team. But it was definitely a blessing in disguise that really led me to believe, okay, what is the value? Like even the types of events that we do, we're very much even more intentional, right? Like right now we do a lot of these influencer marketing events and DI events, because I truly believe I want to make sure the events that we work on can help change lives for the better.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I want to just touch on really quickly the team, right? Because in building any business, whether it's event business or any type of business, restaurant or construction or health or engineer, any type of business, you have to have a committed, passionate, and nimble team. And especially leading events, because they're so fast paced and there's so many details, and one missing detail can be disastrous during an event. What are some of your secrets to building a strong, committed team?
Definitely the company culture. It starts with that. And I think if you put people first and you take good care of them, then they will go on to do amazing things for your organization. And I think the best testament is, I mean, pandemic again, right? When a lot of agency were laying off people, I think I set the tone for everybody on my team. Say, you guys are good. We have a savings plan, so we're going to tap into that. So don't worry. But what I want us to do is really pivot and think about what are some opportunities that we can help close the gap on the pain points for our clients. Right. And then also just checking in on them. We even did virtual team building events because we normally do a monthly culture event. I mean, at one point, one of our event was like building Legos together. And then our team, like her roommate was like, wait, I thought you were working. She's like, I am. I'm doing team building right now with my agency. And she's like, where do I sign up for to apply for that job here? But I think if you take care of your team, and then also really communicating your big picture vision, right? That's huge, so that everybody can go on the same path and they know exactly where you are trying to head towards, so that everybody, I mean, we're on the same boat, right? It's kind of like rolling and making sure everybody's going the same direction, and just really getting buy-in. My leadership style, I definitely say, have was adjusted in the last 2 to 3 years, and just empowering them more. And I love the team managed company because they're doing more and I'm able to focus more on the strategic portion, which will help move the needle. But with the team, I don't know, like we just make a big deal out of everything, like birthdays and anniversaries and what else? When someone gets promoted, we actually have quite a few people getting promoted today. So we have like Dunkin' Donuts, Portos, like all in the office getting ready to go for the announcement. And we got a nice sign, created. I think it's like creating these moments, but also just really communicating what their value is. I think a lot of time
Mhm.
people don't know. They just think I do the
Yeah.
work, I come, I get a paycheck. But if you're communicating the impact, they like their work, like help the company grow or do something amazing, like just by sharing that and being specific, it really helped them feel more a part of the company, and that they have a hand in it, and what they do matter.
Yeah, I do. I think celebrating all those things, making people feel appreciated. I mean, sometimes it's so simple, it just takes the time. Like you really need to devote the time because it's so easy to go, okay, we're on to the next thing. But if you just stop and recognize that and show appreciation, it goes a long way, you know? Um, I just texted our director of mentoring because of our event this past weekend. We had a lot of our clients commit to another year and actually several years. And so I texted her this morning and I said, I hope you feel proud of yourself for what you have created with this team and how committed they are. That so many of our clients are so happy. And so I think just, and that made her morning. So little things like that to stop and recognize. And that's something that I had to really, because I'm like you, Amanda, I'm like, go, 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 what's next? But to just stop for a minute and make those little points of connection and excitement building, it goes a long way. I mean, who doesn't like to receive a text like that?
Yes. Yeah, and finding out, I think different personality like to receive appreciation different ways. Some people
Yes.
like it done privately, some people like it publicly, some people like both. So just like learning the different personality, but also just do it. It's not hard. If
Yeah.
someone does a good job and needs to come off genuinely, not just like making things up like Allison, but really like I love what you did with your mentor Lee because that feeling she must be on cloud nine right now, of all the work. And
Yeah.
then also having you recognize that too, not just like, okay, on to the next. Let's talk about the next event.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the team, and I know you feel that way about yours. So, what's coming up for you next? I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of events, but any new big projects, any new things that you're working on in the horizon?
Yeah, so we're actually wrapping up on one of the 50th company anniversary series that we're doing, and we have a DI national tour that's coming up that we're doing for another client. And we're actually working on a proposal for a potential 100th year company anniversary. So that would be so fun.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
on top of that, I think we have a lot. We also have a podcast, as you know, it's called Event Up. So we have a lot of fantastic speaker coming up. And one of the element that I'm most excited about is our book it's called Event Up also, just to keep it consistent. Branding, easy to remember. It's going to be released in Q3. And then that really shares. I've been in the industry for 16 plus years. Oh, actually, you know what? It's 17 because our company agency birthday is in July. So close. And then before that, I was doing events. So close to 2 decades. And I'm at this time where I just kind of want to like pay it forward to the next generation of events professional or just business owners and entrepreneurs. So just sharing some of my just experience sharing. So hopefully you guys will check out the book Event Up.
Oh, I can't
Yeah,
wait to read it. And I love
thank
the
you.
title, Event
Thank
Up.
you.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of energy behind it. Now, how has being a certified member of WeBank impacted the growth of your business, Amanda?
I'm so appreciative, so grateful of an organization like WeBank because they allow more visibility for our agency. We're a great agency, but a lot of times, sometimes feel like we're the best hidden secret, right? So being part of WeBank now, a lot more big corporations know about us, so more visibility, and then also opportunity to connect with them and understanding at their level what it is that they need. So I think it's just the opportunity. And they also have a fantastic program, which is the Platinum Supplier Program, which is I recommend to anybody who hasn't done that and you're part of WeBank. I would say I've taken a lot of courses, certification, and training. That's one of the best.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I know I've seen you at the national conference as well, which has been so fun. So looking forward to the next one. And any last words of advice for our listeners of Women Who Own It?
Just enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. I think anytime you feel, that we talked about, there's always moment that is just really tough, right? Surround yourself with like-minded people and have a community. That was another thing that really helped me during the pandemic. I went to my entrepreneur forum and just give me some advice, right? And knowing that you're not doing this alone. A lot of other entrepreneurs go through the same thing as you, and having that support system is so important and that community. So yeah, but just enjoy the journey. That's what I say. Do it with a
Yeah.
smile.
Yes, yes, and know that there are more doors that will open, and if you're going through something challenging, tomorrow will be a better day. And I really do believe that things happen for a reason, and sometimes when you're in it, it feels like it could be the worst thing, but it ends up being the best thing.
Yes.
So, anyway, this has been the best thing, Amanda. Thank you so much for being part of Women Who Own It. I'm so inspired. I'm sure those listening are as well.
Thank you so much.
And for those of you listening, if you have not subscribed to this show, please do. And your reviews matter. They really make a difference on the visibility of this show. So please take a moment and write a review if you enjoyed the show. And if you want to learn more about scaling your company, I actually want to give you a free gift so that you can do that. I want to send you a free copy of my book, Scale or Fail. And we've had literally thousands and thousands of this book impact so many readers to grow and scale their business. So we're going to send you the hardback book for free. We'll even pay for the shipping. All you need to do is go to scaleorfail.com/WeBank, WBENC, and we'll send it to you as my gift. And share this podcast with your friends, your business owner friends. And until next time, make decisions from where you're going, not from where you're at. Bye, everybody.
Bye.